back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here today to talk to you about two books which are continuations in a series. So I've already probably reviewed the first in the series, and if I can find those reviews I will link them below. But this is going to be talking about the second one in each of these series. So let's just dive straight in. The books I'm going to be talking about are The Fires of Vengeance, which is by Evan Winter in the Burning series. And then the other book that I'm going to be talking about is She Dreams in Blood, which is the second one in the Obsidian Path series by Michael R. Fletcher. So I'm going to start with The Fires of Vengeance, and this is the second one in the series. I actually audiobooked the second one. I audiobooked the first as well, even though I have the first in physical, and I very much enjoyed the first, even though it's got some flaws, which I pointed out in my first review. The main one being I didn't think the women were very kind of prevalent or very kick-ass or just, you know, very present in the story as main characters. It was very focused on one particular main male character, and it didn't have a lot of room around that main character for any female ones to shine. However, I'm pleased to say that I did enjoy the second one even more because that issue was rectified a fair bit by some really cool female characters kind of taking leads in the story, which I really enjoyed seeing. So once again, in this story, the main character is Tao. He was our main character in book one, and he continues to be throughout the rest of the series. However, I do think that around Tao in this book, despite there not being another main character, there is a lot more breathing room for other female characters to kind of take a more prevalent position. They have much better powers, much better showings, and I really like seeing that. Hal has gone through quite a heartbreak in book one, in fact almost like two heartbreaks really, and I won't tell you much about it because I don't want to spoil it, but this has really had an effect on his mental well-being. He has already gone through an awful lot physically at this point in the series to get to where he is today, and he is highly regarded by lots of the people in this world, including the ruler of the land. But he is definitely looked down upon still because he came from a lower class family, and that's still something he's trying to kind of fight off the stigma for, not just himself, but his friends, his fellows, who he has grown up with, gone through the ranks with. They are all very much looked down upon by many of the higher nobles in this world, and it's still something that riles him up and that is problematic because the people who really can do them damage is an entirely different enemy, and the different levels of society, like low class through to high class, really need to be united at this point because there is a common enemy who is threatening their borders. I think this book does a really good job of showing Tao and how even when he is broken down by lots of different problems, like hundreds of different problems, he still keeps going. He's a very determined character. He has a reason to fight, or at least he can always find a reason to fight. And I really admired that about him as a character. I think he always stood up again after getting knocked down, and whether it was through his own fault or someone else's fault, he would always get back on his feet and he would always try again. I really liked the Queen in this book. As I said, she's one of the main characters who gets much more centre stage and much more airtime in this book. So we have Queen Siora, and then we have her handmaidens, who are also female characters that had a fairly major part to play. They were some of the most exciting characters to me because, as I said, I hadn't seen really awesome female characters from this writer before, and I think this is where he started to shine a light on those characters more, and I just felt like I could connect with them and I could enjoy their plots a lot more overall. The Grand Vizier, or Visor, was also a really fun character. She's also female, and she too has quite a big role to play. She's a tricky one to really know how to like or not like. I think she takes some getting used to, but once I did get used to her, I really enjoyed her. And although she is the kind of character that really makes other characters dislike her, including Tao. Tao is not a fan of her. I could see where she was coming from. I could see her reasoning for things, and I really liked that she thought things through and she didn't just rush headlong into stuff like Tao often does. He's very hot-headed. I would say that these characters, the four of them, being a pretty major part of the story, if not the main character, restored my faith that the author can write female characters really well, and that the world is very much dependent on them, because up until this point you're told that there is a queen, but she doesn't get a lot of stage time, and you're told it's kind of a matriarchal society, but again, you don't see that very much until this volume. I feel like this volume is where we really focused on that, and we saw that a lot more, and the male counterparts and female counterparts who can wield magic in this world are really put against one another, and they actually both have a part to play, and they both kind of represent their sides really well. And of course there is this big warfare that is looming on the horizon for both the males and females of the world against this common enemy. Dragons are a big part of the story as well in this one, particularly in the final battle. There is quite a lot of burning, hence the name of the series, The Burning, and I really liked just seeing the way that it kind of gradually built up momentum. We also get to see different areas of the land in this one, which I thought was really cool. So generally I liked it a lot. And you do learn an awful lot more about the magic, the way that the demon world is connected, and sort of the dragon world as well, how people can play on these powers and pull on these powers, and like the ebb and flow of the world, and just the demonology as well. I think a lot of that gets more explained in this book, which we were hinted at in book one, so I liked seeing that. It seems as though this is a pretty intense, awesome continuation to the series, and there is definitely still a pretty big battle in this world to come. We are very much in the midst of a war-strewn society by the end of this, and I think there are only bigger things to come. So I'm very excited to see where the third one goes. I think it comes out later this year, and I'm intrigued to see sort of how that plays out. And I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars, which was, I think, a star up from the previous. So I definitely recommend it. I do think the series is getting better and stronger, and I'm pretty intrigued to see how it continues. The other series that I wanted to talk about was The Obsidian Path, and book number 2 in this was called She Dreams in Blood. I talked a fair bit about the first one in this series because it was one of the SPFBO entries, so I will find my review and link that for you if you haven't seen it. But I really enjoyed it. It is pretty grimdark, so I will say that to start off with. I mean, both of these series are pretty brutal, but this is definitely more brutal. It also deals a lot with necromancy and just blood magic in general, and death magic and that kind of thing. So it's certainly not for the faint-hearted, so I will put that out there first off. We are following a man who is called Ken, and he is on the hunt for parts of his heart. He woke up one day and he just kind of crawled out of the ground, and he doesn't really know how he's lived as long as he has, but there seems to be a lot of his past missing, and he realises that his heart, which is made of obsidian, has been shattered and scattered across the world, and he has to go around the world collecting bits of it. Along the way, he also meets up with other characters who may or may not be part of his bigger story, and we follow from the first book onwards into the second one straight away, where he and one of his characters that he's met along the way are travelling together in the search for more pieces of his heart. I would say this book is more internal than the first one. The first one is definitely a bit more of an adventure story, and this one to me felt like it was more of an internal, reflective monologue at times. The character Kern is constantly battling with himself. He doesn't know what to fully believe because the people he's with don't always know the truth. Some of them are too young to have been alive when he was first alive, and some of them are potentially not telling him the whole truth. One of the characters he's travelling with is called Henka, and it seems like there's a lot more to their past than she's letting on, or that he really knows. So we're not sure if she's good or she's bad, and there seems to be a lot of tension there. And we also don't know everything that we can trust, because everything that Kern learns, he then learns something else which questions it, and it's very difficult to know where he stands. Is he a really bad person, or is he a person who is trying to do better? We don't know, because even when we do get new bits of his heart, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So I really enjoyed seeing the introspection and the reflection that he does, but I do feel as though it's a book that is slower than the first one because of that, because it's so much monologuing and reflecting. It doesn't necessarily push you through the story at a fast pace. Henka as a character, I mentioned already, she's pretty tricky to really get a handle on, and I always feel like I don't like her as a character. She's a hard one to like. She doesn't make it easy to like her. Because she is a character who is very demanding. She also needs a lot of blood and life from other people to kind of survive. And so she's quite morally grey, probably erring more towards the grey or black areas, and she really is this hard one to pin down. She's definitely Ken's lover, but she's certainly not under his control, and in fact it seems the whole way through as though she knows an awful lot more than Ken does, and we're not sure why she won't share that with him, or whether maybe she has before and then everything's gone wrong and they've had to start again. It's hard to know what is fact and what is fiction in this story. As I say, this book definitely has a lot of layers that it adds to the world and to the characters of Ken and Henke in particular, but I will say it felt slower overall than book one. It felt like it was more of a trudge to get through at times because the action is just not the intense level that it was for the first. I still liked it, I still recommend it, and I still think that there is a lot more to come from this series and this world, but I don't think it necessarily has that punch or that power that the first one had for me, kind of pulling me through the story. So in the end, I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I still recommend it, I still definitely will read more by this author, but I think it's pretty horror adjacent, it's pretty gory at times, and it's definitely not something for everyone, so bear that in mind if you are going to pick this one up. That is my review for that one. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you've read either of these series or if you plan to, or if like me you are continuing on with the series, what do you think of them so far? Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.